Philippine money is old. Like, really old. We're talking thousands of years old. The history of Philippine money has been something like a petri dish in a science lab. The cultures and technologies of the time have molded it into what we use today. Money has evolved to reflect the changing needs of society, which would explain why we no longer use seashells as currency and why extremely large stones are not in circulation at this time. Bartering is a system of direct exchange of goods or services for other goods or services without using money. Bartering is one of the oldest methods of commerce, and it is said to have been used by prehistoric tribes and societies in the Philippines. Before the advent of coinage, the people in ancient times resorted to barter trade when acquiring commodities or products from other communities. They would offer what they had in exchange for what they needed. A primitive way of barter trade was through the direct exchange where there was no standard as regards quantity and value. A common method was for one party to offer an article for appraisal by the other party who would then give his own article with a different worth but agreed upon by both parties as an acceptable equivalent. Gold and silver coins. The first coins used in the history of Philippine money were silver pesos from Spain. However, prior to that, gold and silver coins were also used around the world as currency. They were standardized. Gold coins weighed around 8 grams and contained 90% pure gold. Chinese silver dollars weighed about 27 grams and contained 90% pure silver. These precious metals continued to be used until paper money started being printed in Europe in the 17th century. Chinese coins were introduced to the Philippines in the 14th century by Chinese immigrants, who would go on to become the first permanent settlers in our country. The oldest known coins used in the Philippines were minted no later than AD 1595 under China's Ming Dynasty 1368 to 1644. These objects of exchange were made of bronze and covered with square holes made to be tied onto strings. They were called cash during that time. This early currency was widely accepted before Spanish colonization, but not all communities used them. As a matter of fact, there are still numerous ethnic groups in countries such as China, Japan, Thailand, and Vietnam who do not use cash at all. In addition to serving their original purpose as means of transaction, these Chinese coins also became a big part of Filipino jewelry making even up to this day. Necklaces called paktongs or buckles are usually made from old Chinese coins strung together using thick threads or wires that hold the coin together through its hole. This tradition has been carried on for generations and can still be practiced today by those interested in appreciating the culture of our ancestors. Mexican gold coins. The obverse of the coin bears the Mexican coat of arms, eagle, and cactus standing on a rock and holding a serpent in its beak. The legend, Empire Mexicano, appears around the upper perimeter, with 10 pesos taking up the rest of the available space. The reverse shows the denomination within an open wreath, with 2 decorative feathers on each side. 1878 MOM, which stands for M, int mark and assayer's initials, is inscribed below. Spanish and Filipino currency. The Spanish peso was introduced into the history of Philippine money in the late 18th century, replacing a variety of currencies used by the Spanish Empire. Each peso was made up of 8 reals. To make a change, coins were cut into halves or quarters, with the quarter known as a cuartilo. The first Filipino currency under American rule came in 1901 with the introduction of the peseta, followed by the centavo in 1903 and 2 versions of silver coins. The next year saw more versions of silver coins, plus gold and silver certificates. In 1904, an additional series of notes was issued and also included certificates. Spanish colonial peso, 1565 to 1898. The Spanish currency was the de facto currency of the Spanish colonies in the Americas and the Philippines for almost 3 centuries, 1565 to 1898. The Spanish pesos were called peso or pesos duros, but they had different names depending on where they were minted. The first independent minting of gold coins took place in 1732, after which silver coins followed in 1773. The coins were originally stamped as 8 reals, real being a unit of currency, but within decades, the word peso replaced real. The first denomination to be officially denominated as peso was Mexico's 8 reals coin. It later became Mexico's standard denomination. Philippine peso, 1898 to 1899. The Philippine peso, also known as the Spanish dollar or the Mexican dollar, was the official currency of the Philippines from 1852 to 1946. It was subdivided into 8 reals, Spanish, and 100 centavos, Spanish. The Philippine peso replaced a variety of currencies that were circulating prior to its introduction. The earliest coinage used in what would be considered the modern-day Philippines were Mexican silver coins that circulated after they were introduced by Spanish conquistadors in 1521. These coins gradually went out of circulation with the exception of the gold doubloon, which remained legal tender until the mid-19th century.